So, it was announced earlier today that Tua Tagovailoa was going to be released by the Miami Dolphins, and within the space of this last hour of me planning on recording this, it has also been announced that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be heavily interested in Tua Tagovailoa. Now, let me go over Tua's stats as a Dolphin before I get into my final opinion, because I have a lot to say about this guy's not even 24 hours ago, just talking about the Tua situation, Tua possibly getting released, and who would he likely ended up. And I want to shout out my cousin B1 because he was one that was said, like, the Falcons could use Tua Tagovailoa, and I personally said, you'll find out later. You'll find out later. So, Tua played 78 games for the Miami Dolphins. He had 1,647 completions to 2,421 attempts. So he completed 68% of his passes. He had 18,166 passing yards, 120 touchdowns, 59 interceptions, and he had a passer rating of 96.4. Now, also, Tua did have some rushing in there. He had 173 attempts for 473 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns, which means combined, he had a total of 18,639 yards, 126 touchdowns, and a total turnover ratio of 59. So, his career record as a Dolphin starter was 44-32. So, what does this really mean now that I've read out Tua's stats? Tua wasn't really that bad, but was it really Tua or the injuries? Could Tua stay healthy? In the times that he was healthy, he was doing good, but I also got to give out the shout out to Mike McDaniel, because Mike McDaniel fit that offense to make Tua look better. He had Jalen Waddle. He had Tyreek Hill. So there was no choice but for him to be better. And keep in mind, when Mike McDaniel got there is when Tua started to really look good. Because when Mike McDaniel got there, that's when they ended up getting Tyreek Hill. They already had Jalen Waddle there. And with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, Tua always had the deep ball. So you always knew when Tua was throwing that ball deep, it was going to go to Tyreek Hill. But now, Tua Tagovailoa doesn't have Tyreek Hill. The Miami Dolphins fired Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's now at the Chargers, and now the Dolphins have decided to take on a huge dead cap hit, because I believe it's over. I think it's $100 million in dead cap, and I think it's split between the next 2 seasons. That's a lot of money to want to get rid of a quarterback who I want to say also is 1 concussion away from being out of the NFL. That is the biggest reason why the Dolphins got rid of Tua. Not because he wasn't that bad, it's because he's injury prone. And if he has another concussion, he's going to be out of the NFL. So now that I have this in my head, that the Falcons are interested in pursuing Tua Tagovailoa, the one question I want to ask is, why the fuck would we be interested in Tua Tagovailoa? You just realized the team is getting rid of him, and they're taking on $100 million in dead cap to get rid of him. You really want that liability on the team? So let's say we give Tua Tagovailoa a 2 or 3 year deal worth, let's say, $50 to $60 million, and let's say within the space of the first 5 games he gets concussed, he's out for the rest of the season. What are we gonna do then? And then we also have Michael Penix Jr., who also has injury history coming from college. Did I not talk about that situation in Kirk Cousins' video where I said that we already had Kirk Cousins? We have Michael Penix Jr. And who did I compare Michael Penix Jr. to? If I remember right, I compared him to Tua Tagovailoa. Why would I want 2 injury-prone quarterbacks on my team? There's a lot better free agents for a lot cheaper deals than Tua Tagovailoa. If you want experience, go Joe Flacco. Go Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston will turn the ball over, but at least he'll put up yards. Joe Flacco, he has like a working relationship with Kevin Stefanski. He'll put up some yards. He was dealing for the Bengals. He was dealing for the Browns when he was there. These are all better options, and they're cheaper. We don't have a first-round pick. So why are we going to spend the money that we're just getting back from cutting Kirk Cousins on a guy like Tua, who's not going to be cheap? Because Tua's not going to get a 1-year deal. Tua's going to get at least a 2 to 3 year deal. So why the fuck are we doing this? Really, why the fuck are we doing this? I just read out Tua's stats. Tua's stats aren't really that bad, but still, in the end, it is not worth the risk. Tua was healthy during the second half of the last season. The Dolphins just shut him down because they wanted to see what they had behind him so they could possibly replace him. And the fact that, I'm going to say this again, the fact that they were willing to take on $100 million in dead cap to get rid of Tua says everything I need to know. The Falcons, I hope someone outbids you, because if the Falcons end up getting Tua Tagovailoa, it's going to come right back in our faces. I can guarantee you that. One reason why I know it's going to come back in our face, injury prone. We would have 2 injury prone quarterbacks. This is just absolutely sad. The Atlanta Falcons just really don't need Tua Tagovailoa. And as far as Tua Tagovailoa getting released by the Dolphins, I'm not really surprised. So, in general, I just feel bad for Tua because he was good coming out of college, just injury prone, and now that he's been released by the Dolphins, nobody knows what's next. I can see him going to the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings can take a bigger shot on Tua than we really need to. So, yeah, that's my full opinion on the Tua Tagovailoa situation.